Hey y'all. Okay, so number one, y'all know it's pretty normal now for me to take unexpected long breaks from posting. Today is the June 2nd and it's currently 1:37 p.m. and I get like, if I'm being completely honest, this video is literally, I say this with every video. I know I say it a lot. But this video is genuinely an act of obedience. If it wasn't for the fact that I was convicted this morning, I probably would still not be posting. Honestly, I really don't even know where to start. Okay, so I hear the Holy Spirit telling me to start kind of like briefly going over like the last time like y'all see me. I think the last time I was on here, I was I feel like the last like good news that I got on here to say, well, I got on here kind of like briefly talking about was that my car is now up and running, right? Oh, my car working on May, and it's literally by the grace of God. I have like a little, I gotta have like a, okay, the Holy Spirit's telling me like a testimony when it comes to like my car. I had like people were coming to look at my car to see what was wrong with it, because someone ended up getting me a battery, right? And as you guys know, like the battery was really like the main issue. Like I needed a battery, like the car, the windows and stuff were down. That's why I was getting bit by mosquitoes. That's why I was hot, because I wasn't able to crank the car and let the windows up, and stuff like that, right? And turn the air on. So yeah, I needed a battery. Somebody ended up getting me a battery. I don't really remember what day it was, but there was still something wrong with the car, right? It had a new battery, but for some reason it wasn't cranking, right? Well, on the 6th, well, no, I made a video on here and I talked about how, you know, I was just like, I really just wasn't feeling it. I was really like frustrated. And ultimately, like, that frustration stemmed from, you know, them coming to look at my car to see what was wrong with it, but them not finding the issue, right? And that, you know, that kind of like frustrated me because I really wanted my car to work, right? Like I was weary, right? I was tired, right? I just wanted some good news, right? Okay, so fast forward to the 16th. They came to look at my car and they were looking under the hood, you know, looking at every possible thing, right? As they're looking, I was discouraged because they had already been looking for like a good little minute, and I heard the Holy Spirit tell me that they were going to find the issue. I didn't believe him. I didn't believe the Holy Spirit. I didn't. But literally like less than 5 minutes later, they found the issue, right? And the next day, once they found it, of course, y'all know, like I was so ecstatic, and I knew, like, I was like, oh, okay, like, Holy Spirit, like, my bad, like, I was wrong, like, I was wrong for not believing what you said, right? This is probably gonna be a long video, so yeah, because there's a lot that I have to talk about. So yeah, finding the issue, and it was like some like terminal piece to like the battery. I really don't know. But that got fixed on the, so as you guys also, some of you may know if you've been following like my story, the property that my car was parked on, they had been, I don't want to necessarily say like harassing me because like I'm on their property, but I don't know, I really can't think of like the right word. Like they kept, I'm just saying they kept like pressing the issue of them wanting my car off of their property, which is, you know, completely fair. Like it's their property, I can't be upset about it, right? But yeah, so they just kept pressing the issue. So once my car got up and running, the first thing I did, and as I've said before, I wanted to be off of that property as well. Like, I was tired. I was ready for my circumstances to change. I moved my car, glory be to God, and mentioned, the Holy Spirit is telling me to mention that Sherwin-Williams. That's so funny. My pastor said something about Sherwin-Williams today, and his sermon, so that's kind of funny. I just seen a truck that passed and said Sherman-Williams, so that's kind of confirmation for me. But yeah, the reason the Holy Spirit is telling me to tell y'all the reason behind my car being up and running, right? Okay, so I made another video like shortly after, where I briefly talked about how, like, I was talking about the favor of the Lord, and how I had got like this like opportunity to like work at like these like golfing tournaments. And in that video, y'all, I'm telling y'all, so much has changed. Like, so much has changed, like so much has shifted. So yeah, that's why this is gonna be a long video. The video that I made, it was based off of, me working 2 tournaments, same day, but working 2 tournaments in a location that was like, it's really close to, where I am. So my car wasn't running when I made that video. That video, my car wasn't running. I just want to say I absolutely loved it. I know now the grace and the favor that I was talking about, that God was revealing to me, that God was showing me, was in that moment, right? And yeah, it was in that moment, right? Okay, so that next week I had another tournament, and the tournament was 2.5 hours away from where I live, right? Someone took me to the tournament that was on the 10th, right? So I didn't need my car. My car wasn't running. I didn't need it. It was cool. Somebody was able to take me because it was just like right down the road, right? So, but I had to be 2 hours away, and mind you, this job was out of every single job that I've applied for. And I want to mention that anytime that I have applied for jobs, it has been from a place of weariness, just being tired, just being kind of like fed up. And I hear the Holy Spirit saying, trying to take back control, right? It's me picking the situation back up from the altar in which I've laid it at, God's feet, right? So it's me, me just trying to take control, right? It's never from I have never applied for a job because God has told me to apply for a job. Anytime that I have applied for a job, it's been because I was tired and I wanted to change my circumstances. I no longer wanted to be patient. I no longer wanted to wait, right? Okay, mind you, this job that I applied for, I instantly got the job. Like, literally, I applied for it 1 minute, and then the next minute I received an email telling me that I had been hired, right? Did all the paperwork, did everything that day, signed up to work my first tournament that day. A few weeks later, they told me that instead of working 1 tournament that day, I would be working 2. So yeah, mind you, that same week, yeah, thank you, Holy Spirit. Yes, it was that same week that I applied for this job. My pastor did a sermon on basically talking.
The overflow does not come without opposition. Let me tell you the opposition of overflow. Watch this. Overflow comes with options. And some of y'all only obey God because you don't have no options. Ooh, wait. What I'm saying to you is, sometimes the only reason you're faithful is because of lack of options. Only reason you committed to the church is because nobody else will let you do nothing. The only reason you pray is because if you don't get an answer from God, then you have no other option. But can you stay in the lane or in the flow of God when you have options? Will you stay at the job when there's a higher paying one available? Oh, I'm talking because you think every upgrade is a blessing. And some of them are a test. Because many times, God is trying to see where your heart is. Because many times our lips are far from Him. Our lips and our heart say two different things. And what I'm saying to you is, when you live in the overflow, get ready for options. But when you have options, you have to be, watch this, obedient.
Basically, to sum it up, everything that glitters isn't gold, right? So everything that, you know, looks good, sounds good, isn't from God. Keep that in mind as I progress. So yeah, I had a great first 2 tournaments on, hence the video that I made. I absolutely loved it. I thought the reason that God, I know the reason now that God graced me to be able to work this these 2 days. It's for a number of reasons, right? I think ultimately, like, could he have done it another way? He 100% could have. But I think I know he's seen the decision that I was going to make, which was the decision that I made in the midst of being weary, that I was going to take the job, regardless of what he said, regardless of what I knew to be true, regardless of any of that. He knew that I was going to take the job. So he revealed to me that he used that opportunity to show me his grace, show me his favor, show me, and not to say that I had never seen those things before, because I had, right? But I experienced his favor, and that it was the way I experienced his favor on the 10th at my first 2 tournaments was absolutely insane. Like, I had never, like, I don't think that I had experienced it in that way before. It also revealed to me that next week I signed up to do a tournament that was I signed up to do a tournament that was 2.5 hours away. Mind you, I absolutely love driving. Yeah, I like driving long distances, right? So that was fun to me, right? And our car fixed, like, of course I'm ready to go. Like, this car ain't moved. I am ready to hit the highway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was ready, right? He revealed to me the reason he allowed me to work this job is he used it as an opportunity for my car to be up and running, to provide. And this is probably gonna offend some people, but take it up with God, not me. I know, according to the word, everything under the sun is God's doing, right? He used people in my life to get my car up and running. He provides. In my eyes, I attach everything to God. Everything under the sun, I attach it to God. So yeah, he used someone to provide me a battery. He used someone to provide me a tag and insurance and the terminal piece. He provided, right? And I wanna, because I've already thanked God, right? I've already thanked the people he's used, right, as well. But I want to publicly also thank you guys, because I would not be here if it wasn't for y'all. So yeah, I'm really thankful, right? But he used that job to get my car running, right? And mind you, I was in a place of weariness when it came to this car. Being in this car was literally draining me. Like, and that's so funny. My dream car just rode past on like this highway. But it was draining me. Like, I was tired of being in this car. I don't know if it's been so long since I done posted a video. I don't know if I talked about it, but I know that I made a video and talked about how I felt like the car, like being in this, I could not take being in this car anymore, right? But I think that not only was it, you know, just me being in the car, I think that I was just tired of like stagnation. I needed to see some kind of change, right? And that job that I stepped out of alignment to get, God used for the good, right? And that just goes to show that all things work together for the good of those who love him, right? So yeah, he used that opportunity to get my car up and running, right? He wants me to talk about how the difference in the tournaments. There are 2 tournaments where I absolutely seen the favor and the grace of God, right? Again, I made a video on it. I talked about how I absolutely loved it, how it was just so fun to me. 10 out of 10, best experience ever. If God allowed me to, I would do it again, right? Okay, I drove 2.5 hours away. Mind you, the only reason, and I told this to God, and I told this to I told them the only reason that I was going to travel 2.5 hours away was if they paid my travel expenses, right? They told me up front that, yeah, I'll pay you your travel expenses as soon as you get there. Cool. Let me just show y'all, let me just show y'all the difference in the 2 days. So the thing was complete and total chaos. I knew, like, I should have known then in that very moment. Looking back at it now, after the Holy Spirit has talked to me about it, convicted me about it, after all of that, looking back at it now, I should have seen the signs, right? But I didn't. I was too prideful. I wanted things to go my way. I ignored every single sign that God was giving me. Right? That morning, I got up, I took a shower, did everything that I needed to do, right? I had planned to leave at a certain time, but I left a little bit later. So that was sign number 1, right? Sign number 2, I get gas, put gas in my car, and as I'm getting on the highway to go 2.5 hours away, someone calls me and tells me that my brake lights are out. Mind you, the night before, my brake lights were working just fine, right? But because it was 2 hours away, I had no choice. I either had to go or I had to cancel at the last minute and not go, right? And as I'm literally like driving, the person asked me, they were like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you going to just go or are you just gonna not go, right? I decided that I was still going to go, right? And I just prayed. I just prayed, right? And by the grace of God, my car wasn't hit. He protected not only me, but he protected my car, and I wasn't pulled over. Glory be to God, right? So I made it there and back, obviously, safely, right? But when I got there, I texted the person who told me to text them whenever I got there so that basically they could pay me for my travel expenses. And it didn't end up hearing from them until later on that day. Well, I'm there, I'm working the event, and I'm sharing the hole, which, like I said, it's a golfing tournament. So what I was doing, you work holes, and I was working to, you know, told me to text them whenever I got there so that basically they could pay me for my travel expenses. And it didn't end up hearing from them until later on that day. Well, I'm there, I'm working the event, and I'm sharing the hole, which, like I said, it's a golfing tournament. So what I was doing, you work holes, and I was working get donations for charities, right? It was sharing a hole with another company, right? This other company, and God was moving. God was speaking to me. This company, I think it's called AmeriClean, something like that. I'm pretty sure it's AmeriClean, right? And the person who I was working with, he was the nicest person one of the nicest people I probably ever met, right? And he had all of like this free stuff at his table. Mind you, the table that I work at, I was right next to him. We were working the same hole. He had all this free stuff, just to basically talk about, it was, I think the right word is like advertisement. He was just kind of like advertising his company, and by doing so, he was giving people free like snacks and drinks and stuff, right? So of course, like naturally, people are going to like flock to the table with the free stuff, right? No harm, no foul. I don't care. Cool. I'm still gonna try to work the event, try to get donations, right? And I was right next to him, and mind you, on the 10th, the event that I had the week before, the 2 events that I had the week before, I didn't necessarily like ask for like the right amount in donations, but every single person who came to my hole donated, right? Which was the favor of the Lord, what he revealed to me, right? And however, this event, I'm sharing a hole with someone, and I only got 1 donation out of like the 40 golfing members who golfed, right? It was really weird for me because I went in thinking that, okay, I was going to, this was gonna be a great game. Like I was gonna get, I was still gonna see that favor of the Lord. I was, like, yeah, that's what I went in expecting, right? It wasn't that. God, I feel like God kind of took his hand back and was like, okay, you out. Like, I don't necessarily say I want to say like you're out on your own, because he didn't leave me. He was definitely there. He was speaking to me while I was there, and revealing things to me while I was there. However, I didn't have the same grace and favor that I had when I did it the first time, right? It was a different kind of grace and favor, because it's like, okay, this one time, cool, but 2 times, you really know you're not supposed to be working, so now I gotta take my hand off. Okay. that's just kind of like what he revealed to me. But going back to the person I was sharing the hole with, he worked for a company called AmeriClean, and he kept telling people, everybody was like, what's AmeriClean, what's AmeriClean? He kept saying, I'll never forget this, it's a restoration business, it's a restoration company. I'm not really gonna get too much in it, but restoration is what the Holy Spirit kept highlighting to me every time he said it. Restoration. And so yeah, naturally everybody was kind of just like flocking to his table, right? Which is cool. So I ended up only getting 1 donation out of like the 40 people who worked, right? And our pay is based off of donations, right? We get 20% of the donations. My first 2 events that I worked, I made a good amount, right? The second event, I only made $100, right? But mind you, I had a lot of fun. I still love the environment. If God was to allow me, I would continue to do it, because I love the environment. I love, being in a space where I know nothing. I enjoyed that, right? I loved being outside in nature. Like, that was fun to me. Another thing that the Holy Spirit pointed out to me was, although I went to her in the first event, his favor was so clear to me. I talked about in my video how I didn't have money to purchase a tent, right? It didn't require us. It was optional for us to like get a tent, but I didn't have money to get a tent, and no one I knew had a tent for me to borrow, right? My first event that I had on this, someone let me use a tent. I was not hot that entire day. When I went 2.5 hours away on the set, nobody had a tent for me. I was out in the hot sun, like literally, y'all, baking, right? But I wasn't as hot as the person who was working beside me, because as you guys know, I feel like the Holy Spirit kind of like done prepared me for like the hot season, with me being in my car, sleeping in my car during these past few seasons, right? So I was kind of used to being hot, right? And I had water, so it wasn't that bad, right? But I didn't, nobody came to give me a tent, so I didn't receive like the favor of getting a tent the second day that I worked. I didn't get donations from every person. My brake lights were out on the way there and on the way back, and also on the way back, my car started doing something very weird. It's currently still doing it, but I done talked to God about it, and it's above me now. Right? So yeah, it was just a lot going on. And then also, mind you, I said that the person said that they were gonna pay me once I got there, and I texted them, and I never heard from them until later on that day. Well, later on that day, they basically told me that, oh, they aren't going to be able to pay me my travel expenses until that next week,